All right, guys, back at it again. This time with our third stop on this Alice in Chains album review series. We of course knocked out the first LP a couple days ago or whatever, Facelift, and then we knocked out an EP with Sap, and now we're on back to the heavy business because of course Sap was like a primarily acoustic EP, but we're right back with the heavy as hell, dirgy, sludgy release from 1992, Dirt. And this is the album that, definitely when people think of that Alice in Chains sound, this is the sound. Easily their most successful album of all time, all kinds of hits all over this thing. And just, we've got that same lineup here with, Layne, Jerry, Shawn, and Mike Starr. Of course, Mike, this will be his last album. We get a different Mike, Mike Inez, on the next album, which will be an EP that we look at. But with that being said, this is just an iconic lineup here. Let's hop right into this thing. And it really does feel like you get blasted right off with Them Bones. And man, what a freaking heavy track to start this thing off. It just immediately you get Layne screaming at you, right off the bat, and then you get to really hear those just dark harmonies between Jerry and Layne, which they're so good at and so known for, and that really is like the sound of this band is those dark, sometimes even pretty harmonies depending on the song you're listening to. But yeah, this because Facelift had a little bit of that here and there. Sap leaned a little bit more into it, but this was the one that really you get to hear that sound of them. Just killer production too. But Them Bones, just a heavy classic hit here. I mean, straight to the point, punch in the gut opener. Then we hop right into another really kind of heavier, fast-paced, more upbeat one here with Damn That River, which is actually apparently about an argument the band had. They were drunk or something, and somebody went through a table. So pretty funny they wrote about that, but just such a cool song. I love the riff on this one. Jerry's riffs are top notch. I love the harmonies, in particularly on here during the verses that make for some really cool. Just the way they kind of Jerry and Layne's voices kind of bounce off each other in this one are really cool. And really solid solo too. So just another hit, another home run. Then we go on to track number 3, which is by far one of my favorites off. We're talking about Rain When I Die, which is such a really cool moment for Mike Starr on bass. Gets to open this thing up, and you get like this trickling kind of sound on the guitar at one part. And just one of the riff of this one, you hear that wah-wah and full effect from Jerry. Again, that's another kind of aspect that's going to become like synonymous with these guys. It was already used, on Facelift and stuff, but like just even more so on here. And the chorus is just one of the most beautiful Layne Staley vocal performances you'll hear. Just I love the way this thing goes, just kind of the build up until he just belts out, that chorus. So one of my favorites by these guys of all time, period, and one of the best off this album. Then things get a little bit darker with Down in a Hole, kind of a dark, kind of depressing tune, but and it does it so damn well though that you just can't help but love it. Another one that was a hit. This one again, just the melodies. I hate to say it again, but I mean that's just what they just overlap each other so well. The vocal melodies on this one, and you get this kind of more dark and brooding kind of verse, and then it just leads in, into the Layne again, just belting this thing out. And what an incredible song! One of my favorite parts of it too is whenever you get like the near the end of the song, these layering of vocals with with kind of repeating the first verses and everything. And then there's another layer, singing like "All I Want to Be Inside of You." Such a cool part, of this song, and that's just top-notch stuff. One of my favorites off here for sure. Then we go with another kind of sludgy and kind of a downer kind of track, but just kind of that broods along. Sick Man, and you know, it kind of starts off a little upbeat and then goes into some chaos, and then just kind of this slow kind of, you know, again, just dirgy and sludgy track, which is so cool. Love this one. Really, this was like a deep cut, kind of hidden gem off here. Um, you know, and I think the kind of chaotic nature that this has at some parts, like in the solo that Jerry just kind of comes and wails out. Really cool part in this one. Then we get possibly the biggest song off here with track number 6 with Rooster. Of course, about Jerry's dad. They called him the Rooster, I guess, in Vietnam in the war, and this was just a huge hit and is still such a big track for these guys. Love, love, love it. It probably, I'd say, ranks a little bit more down the line of my favorites off here. Maybe because I heard it so many times, or I mean, maybe not even that though, because I've never been like the biggest fan of Rooster, but I've always liked it though. Like, it's a damn good song, but it's never been one of my like top ones off here. But I love the, you know, the kind of slow build of this one, and then you can like the story that's being told here, you know, and I really dig the part, you know, in the verses, or really in the chorus before, like, you know, the explosion goes down with the distorted guitars on the electric guitars and stuff, when you just hear like Layne and Jerry's vocals just kind of just on this straight line together, you know, really, really cool stuff. Then we hop into track number 7 with Junkhead. Another top tier track off here, one of my favorites of all time. This one, and you hear with the lyrics, there's more and more kind of drug stuff going on here, which is the sad part of this with you know, Layne Staley kind of taking a dip into the heroin, and you know, same with Mike Starr. These guys were all kind of, I don't know about everybody doing that, but you know, especially Layne and Mike were kind of dipping into that, and this song kind of tells you about it. But it's just such a damn good song. It's kind of got, it's a blues song at its roots with, you know, the kind of groove it's got to it and everything. I love the chorus on this one. I love the simple but effective solo that Jerry, you know, lays down on this one. And just another one of my favorite Layne vocal performances on this one as well. And we head right back into the darkness with the title track, Dirt. One of the probably one of the coolest Jerry riffs of all time. Another one of my favorites off here. You get that wah wah kind of lead, you know, that just really makes this riff, you know, and it's just that riff will stick out to you. The lyrics are very, very dark, you know, all over this track. This is probably the darkest track on here, you know, Layne talking about, want you to kill them and scrape them from the wall. So, I mean, it's pretty intense stuff, you know. If that kind of thing can get you down, listen to this kind of stuff, then maybe hold it off. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's a great song. I can jam to it anytime. One of my favorites off here. I love the chorus in this one, but just the way the verses are kind of drone along, and just make this one of my favorites. Then we hop on over to Godsmack, which this one is probably my least favorite off here. I've never been the biggest fan of this one, but I do like it. It's kind of got like this kind of, you know, there's kind of a different kind of style Layne sings on here, like kind of a really, really kind of shaky thing, and I guess that's kind of a part of it. I love the pre-chorus. That's probably my favorite part of this track, which is really melodic and everything. And then like the chorus is pretty cool and everything, but like that's kind of it kind of feels like maybe something that'd be off Facelift with kind of what Jerry's doing on guitar here. But I mean, it's a solid track. Then here's another hidden gem right here with well, actually before that there is an unlisted track, right? But they've, you know, it's since been called Iron Gland, that actually has Kerry King from Slayer like shouting "I am Iron Gland," you know, just like it's a quick, what I think 30-second little interlude deal that's just kind of adds to the feel and effect of the album or whatever. But you know, it's cool. Kind of crazy that Kerry King's doing that though. Then we hop into this kind of hidden gem I'm talking about here. One of my favorites, Hate to Feel. Man, what a badass track. This one kind of has that droney kind of, I mean, this is like the definition of like doom right here, with this riff and everything, and kind of the way that just kind of drones along and, you know, almost slurring the vocals, and then it starts picking up that I love during, you know, like that kind of breakdown before the court, like pre-chorus, where Lane Saint like will spit out some lines like, Plastic Man, Paper Face, and then Jerry hits these little harmonics on there that, and Paul mutes these like pinch harmonics on there that just sounds so freaking cool. And just a really really heavy track. And again with some layering of these vocals and everything during the chorus. So one of my favorites. I love the solo in this one too. Then we go on. I've said it many times here about one of my favorites, but we go on to again with a huge favorite of mine, Angry Chair. What a dark and kind of eerie track here. This one was a hit. Had a music video and everything, and that it almost gives you like just kind of a real spooky vibe to it with the way that guitar tone that Jerry gets on this one and the verses is going on, is doing, so, well, in fact, actually, Lane's doing guitar on that one. I think that's like the only track Lane ever does play guitar, like as far as like the main riff goes. He's not doing lead or nothing, right? But, which I was reminded by it, or I was reminded, by the back here on the credits here where it says that, but, yeah, just such an awesome song, really, really heavy stuff. I love the I don't mind the air, that whole thing that Lane and Jerry got going where they layer their vocals on top of each other with that one. Just such a really cool melodic moment in this other, otherwise dark and heavy song with just a chugging riff with the na 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 na, and then just the bends in this thing. Incredible Alice in Chains classic. Let me close it out with another just all-time freaking classic right here. Track number 13, Wood, which of course was on the Singles soundtrack, that movie, based in Seattle, everything. Just an epic one, It's hard not to get pumped listening to this one. I would put a lot of these other ones kind of above it that I've said are my favorites, but I mean, it still is like in the running there. I still love this song. The bass, again, is one of, that bass intro is one of Mike Starr's finest moments, I think. Just nails it. The chorus, the verse, this was a tribute to Andy Wood, Mother Love Bone, lead singer. And just such an awesome track. And I love kind of how, like, it just takes a turn, at the end of it, where it just goes into, like, a whole different side of the song. But just the way Jerry and Lane are kind of trading off the vocals and the verses in this one, and just amazing stuff. And Alice in Chains classic and a huge hit for a freaking reason. And that does it for Dirt, guys. I mean, wow. If you haven't ever heard this album, you gotta listen to it. It's just a must. A heavy metal classic, if you want to call it grunge or whatever. That's kind of, up to you what you want to call it. But I think it's more of just a straight up heavy metal record. And, just what a masterpiece of an album. We're 3 albums in. These guys found their sound after, on their second LP, truly found their sound. After this, we'll see Mike Starr get the boot. They get Mike Inez in from Ozzy after going on tour with them on the No More Tours tour. They were touring with Blind Melon and, was like the opening act, and Alice would go on, and Ozzy. So it sounds like a really freaking cool tour to go on. I know my uncle went and saw that tour and said it was just a hell of a concert. So if I had a time machine, that's where I would go back and maybe catch that tour. And sadly, we lost Mike Starr several years ago to, addiction, heroin. So rest in peace to Mike Starr. He was an awesome bass player. Really made his presence known on these 3, albums he was on for the band, or 2 albums and an EP, but I am quite, I think Mike Inez does blow him out of the water, as far as a bass player goes, but, we'll get to talk more about what he's got to bring to the table next time when we look at the next EP that was also more acoustic, primarily acoustic EP with Jar of Flies. So we're making our way through the 90s. That'll be like, 94? So about halfway through the 90s with these guys, and just, they're pumping out. They're staying on top of the freaking world in the heavy metal scene, and even, just pumping out hits and stuff, doing soundtracks and like for the Last Action Hero and stuff, kind of in between there and everything. So, but yeah, guys, let's talk about this just classic down there and what you guys maybe think about these tracks off here. So, does it host some of your favorite Alice tracks? Or do you prefer Mike Starr or Mike Inez on bass? And some kind of stuff like that. Maybe talk about some of these deep cuts. What do you think of them? But yeah, stay tuned for next time when we talk about that next EP, Jar of Flies. Like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks, guys.